The next part of factoring is when the greatest common factor can sometimes be found, and also when the a value is no longer 1. Basically, factoring when the leading coefficient is that first term, is bigger than 1. And this is when, if you remember the steps from the first video, this is when we're going to add the 2 red steps in. You guys know how to do all the blue steps, okay? Now we're going to add these 2 steps for when the number in the front is bigger than 1 and there is no greatest common factor. So step 1, make sure there's no negative out in front. Step 2, check for a greatest common factor. Okay, so if you want to add to your steps here, look for a negative sign in front or look for a greatest common factor. Okay, that way you don't forget to check for those first. There is no negative in front and there's no greatest common factor for 2, 11, and 12. Therefore, I have to do exactly what my steps say. Step 1, multiply A times C, 2 times 12. And if you remember in the second notes, I like to make this instead of writing out this whole thing. Instead of writing out this question every time, I make this little X. 2 times 12 is 24. That has to add up to 11. So I need 2 numbers that multiply to 24, goes up here, and add to 11 that goes here. If you know what it is, you can write it down. Otherwise, use your website. If you remember, the website there's a link for it on Google Classroom. But factors of 24 are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. So which one of these add up to 11 and multiply 24? Well, 8 times 3, 9, 10, 11. If I add those 2 together, they equal 11. So 3 and 8. And that's what we're going to do next. And this is the part that you already know. So x plus 3 and x plus 8. The problem is right now, if I were to FOIL that, my answer would be wrong. I would not get 2x squared plus 11x plus 12 because I have another step that I have to add into that, and that's these red steps. Divide the numbers inside by a, and then simplify the fractions if possible, and then move the denominator of the fraction out in front of the variable. So to divide the number in the binomials by a. So this I'm going to divide by 2 and divide by 2. Then it says simplify the fractions if possible. Is 3 divided by 2 or 3 over 2, does that fraction simplify? It does not. So if it doesn't, you're just going to take what is in there and put it in front of the x, and you're going to rewrite the binomial. So I have 2x plus 3. Let me say that again. If you cannot simplify the fraction, take your denominator and put it in front of that x, and then leave your 3 there. If it does simplify, for example, 8 over 2 simplifies to 4. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Go ahead and simplify it. It's 4 over 1, but I don't need to put a 1 in front, so it's just going to be 1x, or it already is 1x, x plus 4. Now, when I FOIL, I would get, I'll do that in a different color, 2x squared plus 8x, because 2x times 4 is 8, plus 3x plus 12. Combine those middle terms in here. 8 plus 3, which we already talked about over here, there you see it, is 11x. So I have 2x squared plus 11x plus 12, which matches that. So this is your answer right here. This was where we checked it, but that's your answer. That's what you're looking for. Let's do it again. First step, check for a negative or a greatest common factor. 3, 7, and 20. Well, 7's prime and 3 are prime, so those do not have a greatest common factor. So let's keep going. Go ahead and multiply 3 by negative 20, which is negative 60. Has to add up to 7. Write out your factors of 60. What are they? Well, they are 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 14. hold on. 15, excuse me. 5 and 12, 6 and 10, 7, 8, 9. Nope. So there they are. So which ones multiply to negative 60 and add to 7? Well, in order to multiply to a negative, one of these has to be positive and one of them has to be negative. And in that case, to get 7, there they are. 12 minus 5. Multiplies to negative 60, adds to positive 7. So I'm going to write that in there. X minus 5 and x plus 12. Now, we're not finished yet. Now we have to add those last two red steps. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to divide by 3 because that's my A value. Divide by your A value. Simplify if possible. 5 over 3, does that simplify any at all? No. So I'm going to take that 3, put it out in front, and I have 3x minus 5. 12 over 3, does that simplify? Yes. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So I'm just left with x plus 4. And that's your final factor. Another example. 7x squared minus 8x minus 12. Well, are there any greatest common factors here? Well, there are here 4, but 7 is not divisible by 4, so we can't do that. Is there a negative in front? No. So we go to the next step. Multiply A times C. Well, 7 times negative 12 is going to give me negative 84. That has to add up to negative 8. And I'll go ahead and use the factor finder for you so that we can make sure we get all the factors. 84, I could probably figure them out, but we'll get them just in case. So we'll go over here and we'll find 84. And it lists them, but I'm going to show it in multiplication example. And let's go ahead and write those down. 1 and 84, 2 and 42, 3 and 28. 1 and 84, 2 and 42, 3 and, I forget what I said already. 3 and 28, 4 and 21. 6 and 14, 7 and 12. All right, so all of those multiply to 84, but I need negative 84, so one has to be positive, one has to be negative, and they have to add up to negative 8. So if that's the case, which one would that be? 14 and 6. 14 minus 6 is positive 8. I need a negative 8. Therefore, I need negative 14 and positive 6. Negative 14 plus 6 is going to give me negative 8. So 6 and negative 14. Go ahead and write them in. X plus 6, x minus 8. And now I'm going to divide by my leading coefficient. Okay, use those red steps. So 7, divide by 7, divide by 7. What did I mess up here? Not negative 8. We used negative 14. I don't know where I looked at this one instead of this one. Okay, let's fix that. Jeez. Okay, negative 14. There we go. Now, does 6 sevenths simplify? No. So I'm going to put the 7 in front, so I have 7x plus 6. 14 over 7 simplifies. Yes, 14 divided by 7 is 2. So I have x minus 2. All right, let's try another one. So I'm going to check for a greatest common factor, and I'm also going to check for a negative. Any negatives? 4, 15, and negative 25. No, no greatest common factor. So I'm going to multiply my A times C. 4 times negative 25 is negative 100. That has to add up to negative 15. Now we know all the factors of 100. Let's just write them out. 1 and 100, 2 and 50, 4 and 25, 5 and 20, 10 and 10. Which ones add up to negative 15, but multiply the negative 100. It's going to be 20 minus, or I'm sorry, positive 5 and negative 20. These multiply to negative 100 and they add to negative 15. So I'm going to write them out. I have n plus 5, n minus 20. Now I'm going to do my red steps. I'm going to divide by 4, simplify if possible. 5/4 does not simplify, so I'm going to take that 4, put it out in front, so I have 4n plus 5. 20 over 4 does simplify to 5. So I have n minus 5. And there's your answer. All right, let's try another one. 15, 51, and 18. Look for a negative out in front or a greatest common factor. 15, 51, and 18, they do have a greatest common factor. Does anybody know what it is? It is 3. If I put a 3 out in front and divide each of those by 3 like we did in the last video, 15 divided by 3 is 5. 51 divided by 3 is going to be 17. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So I did take out a greatest common factor like we did. Now we have to go ahead and factor what's inside into two binomials. So 5 times 6 is 30. Okay, so, whoops. Forgot to write my little x there. 5 times 6 is 30. Adds up to 17. So all the factors of 30, 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. Add up to 17, 15 and 2. It doesn't matter which order you put them in. So I have x plus 15, x plus 2. And now I'm going to divide by that leading coefficient. Okay, which in this case is 5. So I'm going to divide by 5, simplify if possible. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So I have x plus 3. 2 divided by 5 does not simplify, so I'm going to take that 5 and put it out in front. So I have 5x plus 2. Example 5, 32, and 64. Do those have a greatest common factor? They do not. Therefore, I have to set up my little x here. 5 times negative 64 is going to be 320. So negative 320, that adds up to positive 32. Now, obviously, we're going to write out all the factors of 320. I want to go ahead and use my factor finder and do that. So I'm going to do that. Oops. 320. So which one of these, instead of writing them all out, what you can also do is just use them from here. Which one of these would add and multiply, add to positive 32 and multiply to negative 320? Well, not this one, not this one, not this one. What did I need again? 32. Difference of 32. Ah, right here. 8 and 40. Okay, if you take 8 times negative 40, you get negative 320. If you take 8 plus negative 40, or 8 minus 40, you get negative 32. Oh, I want a positive 32. So I have to just flip my signs. And if you do that, that's okay. If you make a mistake like I did, just change it. That's why we check it. So I want a negative 8 here and a negative 8 here. And this is, we want a positive 40. Okay? So they are negative 8 and positive 40 because I want a positive 32. So I'm going to put them in here. X minus 8, x plus 40. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. Simplify if possible. Doesn't simplify. That one does. It's 8. And there's your answer. And that's it.